Hi, I'm Simon Poole from Jerba Campervans, and this is my colleague Alan Winter. Alan's our operations manager. We've been asked recently a lot about the underside of a T6.1, so today we're going to give you a little tour before we touch anything. So first of all, we're going to put the vehicle up in the air. Okay, we're going to start at the back of the van, so we're going to do a little tour around and see what we can see. So Alan, at the back here we've got the spare tyres straight away, haven't we?
We do, and the spare tyre's held on with 2 bolts, which is the normal wheel brace for taking off the wheel. One little drawback is this wheel can be removed from the vehicle without accessing the inside of the vehicle. So one recommendation would be to remove this bolt and replace it with a locking bolt. So when this is in here, you need a special key to remove it. It's certainly a good recommendation because the cost of the wheel is quite high.
And as we move down the left-hand side, so we're going down the passenger side of the van, you can see straight away that we've got some big plastic trims. So the plastic trims, Alan, what's the real advantage of having these on a vehicle on the underside?
The big advantage is it keeps all the debris down, so all the salt water and everything stays on the underside. It's not getting up in the suspension areas mainly. Good thing with these ones compared to the older vehicles is they're much stronger, a lot more fixings, and there was issues early on that some of the trims would come down with the pressure of water, but these are much more substantial.
Right, and there's a slight difference as well in the way they're fitted to the vehicle. So you might have noticed in with the vehicle going up in the air that the way the vehicle is supported in this particular lift is on the actual tyre itself. Now if you had a regular garage and you had to remove the wheels and the tyres, that's not ideal, but for someone like ourselves who are working on brand new vehicles, we don't have to remove the wheel or the tyre. What's really important for us is removing the trims simply. So on the old one, Alan, it was slightly different on the point here where you would lift the van from.
It was, there's 4 jacking points. And so on our old ramp, which is the 2-poster ramp, it would actually pick up on this pad here. Now the problem is this trim goes around the actual pad, so when you lifted the vehicle you couldn't remove the panels. So a really good investment, buying a new ramp, it eliminates that problem, and also we're picking the vehicle up on the wheels.
Yeah, so that's made our life a lot easier and a lot quicker for actual working on the underside. And as we move forward, we've then got something that looks like an underside trim. It's not actually the trim, I'll move across. This is actually the fuel tank, isn't it, on this, Alan?
It is. So the fuel tank's underslung. You'll be aware that you fill the tank, you have to open the passenger's door and you fill from the top, so the filler neck comes down. It's quite a large capacity tank. Again, it's covered from both ends, so well protected. And the next section on this trim, underneath here, is the actual AdBlue tank. So again, just below the filler cap for the diesel, you put the AdBlue in, and this is where the tank's located. Again, it's very well protected, the trims go all around.
And the AdBlue, you fill from the same point where you would fill the fuel from, but it's roughly every 4,000 miles, and it's only 10 litres, so it's really not a big headache. And it's on the dash, you'll have a little warning that gives you a countdown to when you need to fill it, and it starts at 1,000 miles. So you've got plenty of time to fill your AdBlue, so you don't have to be concerned about that. It's a very simple thing to do, and all filling stations these days will sell it either in a 10 litre carrier, or some I think now have actually got it on a filler pump as well. So it's very easy to maintain and fill.
So going further forward, all the vehicles now have this under trim, which is very good. So the engine and gearbox is located on the upside of here, but the good thing is, I don't know if you can see here, Steve, but around the side here the mouldings come all the way around, so any water or debris from the front is brushed back past the engine. So you know, corrosion and things very limited within that area, so a big improvement.
Yeah, and then as we move forward and look, the exhaust system is in the centre, and then we've got these metal trays here which are heat shields. So not only are they protecting the vehicle from the heat of the exhaust system, but also again they're protecting the underside from stone chips and from any other damage.
And again you can see at the front here how the wrap-around panel goes around here. So again, using the lift, there's a much great advantage, so you don't need to jack it up.
Yeah, and then as we move forward down or backwards, we're going to the rear of the van now, down this side. See the trays again protecting the underside, and before you get back to the rear wheels. Now what we'll do, and this will be the next stage in the video, is we'll basically remove all the plastic panels you see here. We'll take off, we'll remove some of the heat shields a little just to gain access for fitting various parts. But we'll move on to that in the next stage of the video. We'll strip everything off and you'll be able to see actually what does the underside of the vehicle look like before we start fitting water tanks, heater systems, batteries and any other additions that people are looking for. Anything else, Alan, you think we need to
I
cover?
think covered everything.
Yeah, okay. Thanks so much. We'll see you when we've stripped the bottom of the van off. Okay, so here we are. We've actually got all the panels now removed, so we're going to have a look around the underside of the van with everything stripped off so you can see what it's like when it comes out of the factory before we actually put anything on the vehicle. So Alan, we've got spare tyre off now.
Spare wheel's been removed along with the trims at the rear section here. So from the axle back, that's what we've taken off. As we move further forward, you can see that all the trims have been removed along this side, along with the fuel tank. Now to remove the fuel tank, we need to disconnect the fuel lines along with the filler neck which heads up through the hole. And again, we've also had to disconnect the AdBlue pipes, which we put the 2 plugs in the tank here just to stop any leakage. And this is the AdBlue tank that we referred to earlier, which again was all covered, so now it's fully exposed.
And the actual underside you can see has got a wax finish to it. Obviously, again, this is all totally covered. This section will be covered by the fuel tank, but it is also waxed as well, isn't it? At the factory, that's it.
It is, and as you can see, I mean, there's a good amount of wax. It's on every seam that would actually be prone to rust. So there is a good deal of wax being introduced at the factory, which is really good.
Yeah, so it's a double covering, the wax and then the panels itself, or themselves. And we move across to this side. And again, it all looks very similar when you look at it from what comes from the factory. Again, you can see the wax. And this space here, this is if you had a Webasto air-top hot-blown heating system, that's where this goes, isn't it?
It is. There's a bracket goes in here with the heater and everything, but we'll show that later on in the film that we're doing.
Yeah, and that's how they would fit it at the factory. If you ordered one from a factory on a van, it would go in this identical position. So we're mirroring what they do at the factory.
That's correct.
And then we've got some more spaces in. What do we put in these? Because we have a particular way
Well, we're very fortunate. The space here is actually, when you look at it, it's almost the perfect box, so we can actually put the second leisure battery can go up in this space. So we manufacture a stainless steel cage that gets put in here with bolts and gets pushed up, so that saves space up in the cab area and also utilises the space underneath. And again, once the covers go back on, it'll be fully protected.
Yeah, and we'll see that in the next stage of the video as we go through. So I think pretty much we end up at the back of the van. Well, let's look quickly at the back. Again, tripping over the ramp. We've got a big space here, and this is the space we'll end up putting our water tank in. So it's a void at the moment, but again, we'll actually get our water tank and we'll see it slightly later on, just put into there and how it's all fixed in. So I think that's the underside of the van, panels off before we've added anything. Okay, so Alan, we're back under the van here, and we've got the panels. These are the Volkswagen protective panels which go on the underside of the vehicle. So those are all back on again on this side.
Okay, so this is covering the AdBlue tank on this side. At the front section here, you can still see the panel has been removed to give full access for the heater. The exhaust is coming out the factory outlet, so if it came with a heater from the factory, this is where the exhaust would exit, so we replicate that. Moving slightly further back, you can now see that the battery is located into the cradle, which is in parallel with the one that's underneath the passenger seat. This panel has been put back on here just to protect, but as you can see the panels here, and we'll show that later on, these will all go back over. So from the underside it'll look exactly as it was before we started.
Okay, and the battery, so this is an identical battery to the battery that comes from the factory, because when we order our vans from the factory, we order them with a leisure battery already installed from Volkswagen. It's a 75 amp, what's called an AGM battery, and the other battery which Volkswagen fit is under the passenger seat. And if you have any heating system, be it a Wallace hob, the hob which is also the heater as well, or an air-top heater, which is the one that goes under the driver's seat, which is like you have here, and gives you hot air when you're parked, then we twin up with the original Volkswagen leisure battery a second battery to double up your amp hours to 150. And it's an identical battery, but we put it in a cage. There's no room really inside the vehicle that we'd like to keep it clear, ready for people for storage. So putting it under the vehicle is a really neat solution in a stainless steel cage. And then going further back, we've now got the water tank in place here. Anything you want to say? It doesn't hang down any further than the existing vehicle itself.
No, that's right. I mean, height-wise, it's exactly the same as it would be. You know, so from the spare wheel to the anti-roll bar, the height's absolutely correct. This is the tap for draining the system. Need it be required to drain everything through. And at the back section here, just behind the mud flap, this is the exit for the sink. So this is where the wastewater would come out. and be caught in a bin or a storage container underneath the vehicle.
It is possible to have a wastewater tank. We find most of our customers don't really want a waste tank, don't see the advantage of carrying around lots of wastewater, but it's perfectly feasible to put a tank in. You'd have to then have actually a slightly more complicated system of pumping the water from the sink all into the vehicle to a tank, which we then have at the front here. So feasible to do, but I think 95% of customers are quite happy just to put a bucket or receptacle underneath, catch the wastewater, and then pour it away wherever they are. So Alan, anything else we need to talk about on here?
No, I think once all the panels are back on, you really wouldn't see much difference from when the vehicle first arrived.
Okay. Thanks very much for watching. That's another video from Jerba Campervans, looking at the underside of the vehicle. Hope you found it interesting. If you've got any questions, just ask us. Go onto the Facebook site, send us a question, give us a ring, send us an email. Thanks very much.
Thank you.